Hey, it's me, Emerald. Yeah, that one guy that makes pretty decent YouTube videos but then disappears for 3 months. I'm back, and I apologize for the long silence. I've been working on a lot of other pretty big projects for this channel, as well as been dealing with personal stuff, so I haven't really had the time to upload a new video recently. But hey, here I am. I'm back, and I'm here with another ranking video. Now, for any of you that don't know, other than Rockstar Games, Valve is my most favorite game development studio. I've played most, not all, but most of their games, and I've loved pretty much all of them, at least the ones I've played. So I thought, for fun, I'm going to rank every single Valve game from worst to best that I've played. Now, for the record, Valve has made many more games than what you're about to see. The games that will be ranked and discussed in this video are going to appear on your screen now. In total, I've played 9 Valve games, which may not seem like a lot, but hey, those 9 consist of the most big ones, at least the ones most people know. So without further ado, I'm going to rank every Valve game I've played from worst to best. Now, coming in at number 9 for the worst Valve game I've played, it's CSGO. Now, before you click off this video, which I know a lot of you are going to do right now, hear me out. I know CSGO is a really huge game. It's probably the biggest game ever when it comes to esports, but that's the exact reason why I don't like it. It's competitive, and if you couldn't tell by my top 10 favorite games video, I am personally not a fan of competitive games and online first-person shooters. I've played CSGO a few times, but while it's not the worst video game experience I've ever had, it's certainly not the best. I feel like I should also quickly mention, these are just my opinions. I am not going to denounce you if you play CSGO. I don't care what you play. The game is just not a video game I play regularly. And if you have a problem with that, well, I don't know why you're here. Now, coming in at number 8 for the second worst Valve game I've played, even though I wouldn't consider this game to be outright bad, Dave defeats Source. Yeah, Source games are going to be on this list too, I should probably mention. Obviously, Source games are nothing special. As a matter of fact, I only have a handful of Source games because of Garry's Mod. I don't actually play them. The only times I can imagine myself genuinely playing Source games is if I'm super bored and I'm just mindlessly going to play a game of Dave defeats Source or Counter-Strike Source. And speaking of Counter-Strike Source, it's the next placement on this list, coming in at number 7. Once again, I only have Source games as add-ons for Garry's Mod. I don't actually play them seriously. So I guess everything I said for Dave defeats Source could be applied for this placement as well. AKA, I don't have much to say here. Alright, now that we got those 3 out of the way, let's get to the games I genuinely enjoy and play. Because coming in at number 6 is going to be Team Fortress 2. I don't play TF2 that often, I will say. But when I do, I really enjoy it. And now for the record, when I do play the game, I typically main as either Soldier or Medic. And I know a lot of people won't really like the fact that I play as Medic. I'm not usually a fan of first-person shooters like I said earlier, but I will admit I do like TF2. I really like class-based shooters, and TF2 is kind of what kicked off that whole genre, as most Valve games do for a handful of video game genres. But yeah, TF2 is at number 6. Let's continue. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Left 4 Dead 2. Now, I know this game was on my top 10 favorite games video, so it's kind of strange to see this one so far down my list when it comes to the Valve games. Don't get me wrong, I really like Left 4 Dead 2, and I will say I am very excited for Back 4 Blood to come out in October, and I might do a review on it. And although this is one of my most favorite video games of all time, in terms of being a Valve game, it's not one of my top favorites. Left 4 Dead 2 is pretty much what started my love for zombie survival games, and it continues to hold its place as my favorite zombie-related video game in general. The game is simple, yet revolutionary, like most Valve games. Just like how TF2 kicked off class-based shooter games, Left 4 Dead put zombie survival games into the mainstream, and while I don't play the game a ton, I still enjoy it when I do. Coming in at number 4 is going to be a somewhat controversial placement. I know a lot of people will think it deserves to be higher, and some will weirdly think it deserves to be lower, but coming in at number 4 is going to be Half-Life 2, including the episodes. I know some of you might complain I'm including the episodes with the main game in a singular placement, but honestly, I see all 3 games as Half-Life 2. If you were to just play Half-Life 2 Episode 0 and none of the episodes, that's just like playing an incomplete game. They could have easily ended Half-Life 2 there, and then the content of the episodes could have been Half-Life 3, but alas, the episodes were made instead, and Half-Life 3 will probably never exist. Even though Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ends with a cliffhanger, but it seems like Valve couldn't care less. But for the record, I really enjoyed Half-Life 2. It was very ahead of its time and completely reinvented first-person shooters after the original Half-Life already did it once. But to sum it up, we should probably stop keeping our hopes high for Half-Life 3, as it will probably never release ever. Man, imagine if Half-Life 3 trailer gets dropped right after I upload this video. Now we're in the top 3, which at this point I genuinely consider most of these games to be some of my most favorite ever. If you've seen the top 10 games video, you know what the top 2 placements are. But the third one might surprise you. as it wasn't in my top 10 favorite games. Coming in at number 3 is actually going to be Half-Life Alyx. Now, hear me out. If I had an honorable mention segment in the top 10 games video, there is no doubt this would have been in it. I actually had a really hard time deciding whether I wanted to put this game in that video, but ultimately it got cut from the list. But in terms of being a Valve game, I absolutely love this game. It is no doubt the greatest VR game of all time, and it'll keep that title for a very long time. This is probably the only good VR story game out there, and it'll probably be the only good one for a long time. And overall, this is a phenomenal video game. I'd say it's probably Valve's best work ever. If you have a VR headset of any kind, I'd highly recommend getting this game and playing through it. This is one of those games that you must play if you have the hardware for it. Now, for the final 2 spots, you probably know what these spots are going to be. I'm not going to talk too in depth of why I chose these spots here. If you want to hear more of what I have to say on behalf of these games, you can go check out my top 10 favorite games video, which is probably the millionth time I've mentioned that video in this video. Whatever, it's a video I'm proud of, so if you want to check it out, you can click on the top right of your screen. Anywho, coming in at number 2 is going to be the original Portal. Now, I think the original Portal has done something that I've never seen any other video game, and I doubt I'll ever see it again do. Portal manages to be so lovable, so enjoyable, yet have such a lackluster plot, and be a game that you could honestly complete under an hour. And when I say it has a lackluster plot, I'm talking about just the original Portal. I'm not talking about Portal 2 here. The thing I really do love so much about this game, which is what I also mentioned in that other video, which I'm not saying the title of anymore because I'm so tired of saying it, is the eerie feel of this game. Since you have so little knowledge of what this game even is at the time, everything you do is so eerie. You're the only person there in this game, at least. The only other voices you hear are Gladys's and the turrets. I know I called them sentry bots in the other video, don't know why. Anyway, you get what I mean. This game manages to be eerie and overall manages to be really enjoyable somehow. But with all that aside, let's move on to my number 1 spot. Now, coming in at number 1 for my most favorite Valve video game of all time, you guessed it, it's Portal 2. This game goes above and beyond of what it really needs to be. Its predecessor was so basic and so simple. This game could have easily done the same thing, but it didn't. It does a really good job at thoroughly explaining everything that happened in the first game, since you don't even really know yourself what happened, and there are so many little things that make this game so much better than it needs to be. The weirdly beautiful updated graphics, Wheatley's commentary, and the tremendous increase in Gladys's inclusion as a character makes this game utterly fantastic. And that's why this game will always be my most favorite Valve game of all time, and one of my most favorite video games of all time. Well, that's the video. Sorry for the long silence on the channel. I plan on uploading a lot more videos soon, as well as something else that I'll be doing on my brand new Twitch page that I just made. The link for it will be in the description if you want to follow it for now, because that will be used very soon, and more information about all that will come out soon. But thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.